So let me guess, you've got on self-improvement, life's been feeling better, you're maybe starting to make some progress, but what you're also doing is trying to convince everybody to do the same. You're trying to get other people on self-improvement, which is a noble thing to do, but that's completely unnecessary. Don't you ever find yourself trying to convince others to do what you're doing? I mean, look back at some of your conversations. Maybe you're talking to your friends, maybe you're even talking to your parents, and you're trying to convince them that, hey, you guys should also start doing this one habit. Or maybe you go to your friend who's in school and you tell them, why are you still in school? You know, school is not going to get you there. School actually isn't popular anymore. Or maybe another friend is working a job and you ask them, well, are you going to work this job forever? What are you going to do in 10 years from now? Why aren't you starting a business? Why aren't you doing more with your life? And usually the type of response you get is something along the lines of, well, actually, I haven't thought about it. Well, actually, insert excuse one, excuse two, excuse number three, and the list goes on. And sometimes that just straight up makes people uncomfortable. What you need to understand is that it is not your job to force your way of life onto somebody else. If you've discovered something new, it's only natural to go ahead and explain it and to share it with others. And that's a good thing to do. But you can do so in a way where you're talking about yourself, not forcing yourself onto others. And here's why that's very important. When you try to help people that don't need to be helped or don't want to be helped, you're actually spending so much energy that you could spend investing in yourself and building yourself up that you just end up slowing down your own progress. Let's understand this. You're given a certain amount of energy every single day, a certain amount of brain capacity, the capacity to make decisions. It's a set amount. The version of you that's in the last 2 hours of the day is not the same version of you that's in the first 2 hours of the day. Let's unpack that. When you start your day, your brain is actually functioning at its peak capacity. It's at 100%. That means every decision you make is probably going to be a lot more informed. That also means if you're working in the morning, you're probably going to end up producing a much higher quality of work. When it's the end of the day, don't you ever find that reaching a decision is a lot harder? Sometimes you can't even decide between which socks you're wearing the next day, which, by the way, absolutely doesn't matter. So naturally, as you go through your day making small decisions and working, your brain is basically getting a workout. It gets tired towards the end of the day. So going back to the original point, if you're to spend your energy convincing people to live like you do, because you're all excited and you just discovered this new way of life, you're actually gonna drain that energy much sooner. And most of the time, the people that you're trying to affect don't even get affected. It's basically a complete time and energy sink. You may argue that you're doing a positive thing, you're trying to make someone's life better. Absolutely. But this is not the way to go about it. The people that are in the position that they are in currently is because they're okay with it. That's the harsh reality. You might be thinking, no, but everybody wants to improve themselves. Doesn't everybody want a better life? Not exactly. They don't want it that badly. It's not that crucial for them. Because if it was, they already would have been living the way they want to live. They already would have been on the path of improvement. Either that person is already where they want to be, or it's just a matter of time before they get there. That's somebody like you. You're unsatisfied with your current situation, so you've gotten on the path of self-improvement to get yourself to the destination. Those people that you're trying to help don't see it that way. Most of the time, what's even worse is that it's not that they don't need to be helped or that they don't want to be helped. It's that they don't even realize or see it as an issue, as anything needs to be done about it. Basically, in other words, their current situation is just fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Look at it this way. Drive that makes you want to improve and become better and grow, that ambition, it's like a gene. You either have it or you don't. Not everybody feels the same way. Because you're watching this right now, you probably have that gene of ambition, of improvement, and you might be thinking that everybody else also feels the same way. While in fact, a lot of people don't actually have that gene in them. They don't have the need to improve. And when you're giving them that advice, even though it's coming from a good place, not only do they not appreciate it, they think you're strange for telling them that there's something wrong in their lives and that they need to get better. You've all heard of the phrase, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You can basically extend your hand to them, but they're responsible for grabbing your hand. You can offer them help, but they need to want help. You cannot take their arm and make it grab yours. That's going to be the biggest waste of your time. Remember this one rule. Never bother wanting to help someone more than they want to help themselves. It's always going to be a poor investment. It's going to leave you disappointed, and their lives are just going to completely revert back to where they were initially. I know this so well because I used to do that. I'm not even talking to you right now. I'm talking to me 5 years ago. I'm talking to the version of me 10 years ago. The amount of energy I spent trying to convince others to get on this journey with me is stupid. It's enormous. There's absolutely no sense in doing that. The amount of frustration I went through when trying to convince people, holding their hand, pushing them, and they would fall off anyway. But that taught me that important lesson, that I'm always able to help people, but that's only if they want to be helped. My hand is always extended to anybody around me, to you guys, but you need to want to grab it. I will never grab that hand for you, because let's look at it from the other perspective. Your reason for getting them to do it is a lot stronger than their reason to actually improve themselves. They're probably thinking it would be a nice to have, not a must have, not a must be, must become. What that means is they've never developed the strong, deep-rooted reason to actually make a change in their lives. But you have. But your why and your reason does not necessarily transfer over onto them. Does that make sense? Each person must define it for themselves. You cannot do that for them. So is it over then? Is it all doom and gloom for the people around you? Can you absolutely not help them? Of course you can help them. And there's a way to do that, which I'm about to share with you. What I've discovered from trying to help people that don't want to be helped and noticing other people around me getting on the journey anyway is the fact that I was on the journey. In the most basic words, what that means is leading by example. Since I previously just said that a person needs a strong, deep-rooted reason to actually make a change in their lives, that's what's going to get them moving, not you forcing them to. Once they see how your life is changing, how your life is improving, they start to develop that deep-rooted reason themselves. They start to look at you and think, that's what my life could be like. And if those kind of people in your circle, in your family, hang around long enough with you and see how you're improving, something's going to click. They're eventually going to reach out because you have what they want. That's when you can help them. Your hand is always there for them to reach and grab, but only once their strong reasoning forms for making a serious change, that's when they'll grab it. And that's your moment to shine. That's when you're going to say, welcome to the game. Welcome aboard. Let's start going. Let me introduce you into the gym. Let me introduce you to how we do this, to how I'm working on these 3 habits. That's when the fun begins. But up until then, the only way you can help someone else is by showing them your example. And sometimes it may feel like you've been doing this for a year, for 2 years, 3 years, and the people around you are still the same. Well, first off, you need to understand, why are those people still around you? They're not like-minded individuals. What's the point of spending your time with them? But if they are people you care about, who have been with you forever, you don't necessarily want to abandon them, but you do want to help them. So it seems like they're just not improving. They're not quite catching on to it. It almost feels like you're in your own world doing your own thing, and they don't even really pay attention. And that's okay. That's what's supposed to happen. Some people have a much smaller threshold for wanting to make that change. Maybe in 6 months of self-improvement, they immediately want to jump on with you because they don't want to let you get ahead of them, and you're going to compete as well, which is a lot of fun. But on the other hand, you have people who have an insanely high threshold for actually making that change because their life is so comfortable right now. You need to understand, the more comfortable a person is and the more okay they are with where they are right now, the higher that threshold is going to be for them to want to make a change. And even if from your perspective their life is completely off the charts, it's absolute garbage, they're eating shit food, they have absolutely bad habits, they play video games all day, maybe they're not even physically active, but in their own minds there is nothing wrong with that. That's actually how they want to live their life. And only when you reach a level so high that they start thinking, damn, this guy did it, maybe I can as well. Maybe it's not so hard after all. And that's when they start getting interested. This is the biggest thing I've noticed happening around me to the people that I indirectly influence through my work. Through what I do and through what you do, you're going to end up inspiring everyone around you without even realizing. And there are stages to this. You've all probably seen the image or the graphic where there's these 4 quadrants, and it says something like, first they make fun of you, then they start using you as an example, and then they start parading you everywhere like you're the best person they know. Let me see if I can pull it up on the screen right now. But that's the stages that other people go through when you're the one making the changes for yourself. I can tell you this from my own experience, from being on this path for so long, that this is exactly how others react around you. And the coolest thing is, when you're aware of this and you're conscious of this, and there's a new person in your life, they're going to go through the exact same stages, maybe at different paces, at different rates, but you're going to learn to recognize that they're just going through the exact same experience as other people in your lives have went when you've started improving yourself. So for example, you make a new friend, and hopefully that friend is similar to you, but you might find that they're a little bit standoffish with you, meaning for some reason, when you decide to do this one new thing, and you think maybe you can go get that girl that your friend thinks is too good for him, there's no way you're going to get her. That means he's in that stage of, this guy doesn't know what he's doing, or a little bit envious. Look at him trying to think he's the shit. And maybe you go over there, she rejects you, you move on. But eventually, once you start getting more female attention, that same friend is going to go, oh wow, this guy's kind of cool. And he's going to tell about you to his friends that, hey, I have this friend that gets all the pussy. He's an absolute beast. He can walk up to any girl, speak to her, make her laugh, grab her number, and maybe even go on a date after. That friend that used to be insecure and made fun of you for trying to approach girls that are out of your league, eventually sees you grow through the process and comes to terms with it that you actually know what you're doing and you've improved. And at that point, he may even ask you, hey, how do you do it? How can I be like that? Maybe he's already doing all the other right things, but he just doesn't have any luck with women yet. So he's going to come to you for advice and ask you for that. And he's always going to keep using you as an example to his other friends. That's how that works. And this example that I just used can be easily transferred to any other situation. But the point being is that eventually those people in your life will acknowledge you, and at some point even reach out and ask how you did it. For some individuals, it's going to take 10 years before they say a word. They'll just keep observing. Maybe they think that you're all over the place and you don't even know what you're actually doing. But that doesn't matter. Keep improving yourself and you're going to help others. All you have to do is just stay on your own track. So to summarize everything up, don't bother teaching everybody your way. especially to people who don't look like they want to be taught. In fact, preaching and forcing your way onto others is no different than those people who are vegetarians or vegans who are trying to make you stop eating your diet. That makes you no better than them. Focus on improving yourself, and once you really start having results, that's when people start reaching out and asking for your help. That's the best way to help someone, because it's going to make them want it themselves. They're going to develop their own why as to why they want to do it. And why do they want a better life? And that's where you come in. That's when you stick your hand out and they reach for it. I am all for helping people. I think this is a net positive. If you're a strong individual, you're always going to have time to help others. But make sure you're doing it with the right people, while also still prioritizing helping yourself. Catch you guys in the next one.